Last week, we looked at that whole ordeal with Achan and how he disobeyed God's command. God told before they went into Jericho, this is Haram. This belongs to me. You're going to dedicate this city to me. Don't touch, don't take any of it. And we saw that he disobeyed. I think it's this mic. Let me put this over here. We saw that he disobeyed God, and all of Israel paid the price for that. And it wasn't just on Achan. It was on Joshua as well, because he didn't consult the Lord. He did not go to him before he sent out the men to say, what do you want us to do? What would you have us to do? He did not consult the Lord of his own plan, of what God had called them to do. And so they suffered because of this. They suffered a great defeat. And this is what God said as Joshua was grumbling to him. He told him, what are you doing on your face? Get up. Israel has sinned. They've stolen, they've lied, they've taken what belongs to me, and they've put it with their own things. I will not be with you until you put out sin from you. You will not stand against your enemies unless you put out this sin that's in your camp. And so we looked at that in respect to our own lives, and how when things go wrong in our lives, we tend to want to blame others. We tend to blame God. We grumble against God. Why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. This isn't fair. We look at everything else, but we dare not look at ourselves. We dare not turn and look at our own lives and see what may be in there that is not aligning with God, that is sin in our own lives. And so we said we need to look at ourselves. Whenever we find ourselves in a catastrophe, we need to turn and look at ourselves to see if we're walking in line with the will of God. And so today, we're going to look at the second part of this. This is all tied together. This is a second chance. Israel gets a second chance at this. And it's important that we look back on the first part of it, because in that we can draw out some of the principles that are in this text. But specifically, we're going to look at being humble. What does it really mean to be humble? I know we have an idea of what that means, but perhaps this will surprise you. That's not exactly what it means, to how they say you need to be lowly and to be, kind of subservient to everyone. That's not what being humble means. And we're going to draw this definition out of this text today. So in verse 1, it reads, "Then the Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you and go up and attack Ai. For I have delivered into your hands the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king, except that you may carry off their plunder and livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush behind the city." And so we're looking at, this is a little different. This is a little different than Jericho. Jericho, it seemed a little ridiculous what he told them to do. You're going to march around this city and blow your horns. And you're going to do this for 7 days. And so they did that. 7 days, they marched around 13 times. And then there was this miraculous event where the wall just fell and they went in and just annihilated the entire city. But here, this is a little bit more strategic. It's a little bit more methodical. And he's telling him, the first thing he tells him, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. This is what he told him when he first called him to service back in chapter 1. If you remember this, he said, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for I am with you. I am with you. And so it's as if he's reminding him that I'm with you. Yeah, you messed up. Yeah, you screwed that up. But you got to have another chance. I'm going to give you another chance at this. Don't get down. You know you messed up. You know this was a defeat. You got spanked. You lost. But get back up. Don't be afraid. I'm with you. I am with you. No matter where you go, I'm with you. He's reminding him that he is with him. And so that means you don't need to go far and wide looking for me when you run into trouble. You don't need to go and whatever it is we do today, we send emails, we get on the phones and FaceTime, Instagram, Facebook, chit-chat, whatever it is that we do, God is with you. Same promise. We have that same promise. Christ told us that I'll never leave you. I'm going to send to you a comforter. My spirit will be with you forever. And so know that when you run into issues, that God is with you. You don't have to go far and wide looking. He's with you. He's in you. You can speak to him. You don't got to worry about, him leaving you. He says he will always be with you. For those of you that like to talk, maybe talk a little too much, you don't have to get worried about him getting annoyed with you and leaving because you're talking too much. He's still there. He's still listening. You can talk. Otherwise, on the other side of that, it's hard kind of to hear what he's saying if you're doing all the talking. So sometimes you might just want to be quiet and sit still before the Lord. But know that he is with you. He's with you. And this is what he's reminding Joshua. I am with you. Do not be discouraged. Do not be afraid. I am with you. And Joshua, when he was on his face grumbling to God, what's going to happen of your name and all of this and all of that. And I like to think God told him to shut up before he told him to stand up. You've sinned. You got to get this out of the camp. I'm still with you. I promised you. I'm with you. Verse 3, it reads, so Joshua and the whole army moved out to attack Ai. He chose 30,000 of his best fighting men and sent them out at night. With these orders, listen carefully. You are to set an ambush behind the city. Don't go very far from it. All of you be on the alert. I and all those with me will advance on the city. And when the men come out against us, as they did before, we will flee from them. They will pursue us until we have lured them away from the city, for they will say, they are running away from us as they did before. So when we flee from them, you are to rise up from ambush and take the city. So there are a few assumptions here. There are two assumptions that Joshua is making. Either he's assuming or God has told him and he's not given us this information in the text. He's assuming that the men are going to come out as they did before. And that really doesn't make much sense, because if you're in a fortified position, it doesn't make much sense to go out and attack. You want them to try to breach your defenses. You have the high ground and you have the advantage. But he's making this assumption that they're going to come out as they did before. And the second assumption is that he believes that they're going to chase after them. If they turn and run, they're going to think to themselves, look, they're fleeing from us as they did before. And so they're going to flee after them. That's the second assumption. And these assumptions, this is the only way that this ambush is going to work, is if they take this bait. And so, and that really just speaks, if you think about it, it speaks to the pride of the men of Ai. They're thinking to themselves, we beat them down before, we can do it again, and we'll do it again. They're running from us. We're going to chase after them. We're going to put them down just as we did before. And this whole plan, it hangs on this assumption of their pride, that they're going to go after them, assure themselves that they're going to just throw them another beating. And so when you think about, any kind of strategy, any kind of tactics when you're going against an opponent, this is the most advantage that you have, is if you understand how your opponent is going to respond to any given action. If you play chess, you know this, that you're wanting to anticipate how your opponent is going to move based on where you move. And if you understand how they're moving beforehand, you can ambush them. You can set them into a trap. And this is unfortunate for us, because our enemy understands this. Our enemy, the devil, he understands our weaknesses. He understands how we're going to respond to any given situation. And he'll set traps for us, and we fall into them, and we struggle with that. You need to understand your weaknesses. You need to be honest with yourself. And being prideful and thinking that you're something that you're not, that's where you get caught up in these traps. I have this chronic condition. They put a name to it. When I was growing up, people would say there was something wrong with me, but it's a chronic condition called misophonia. And that's just a fancy way of saying that certain sounds will just drive me up the wall. You know, specifically somebody that's smacking their gum, you know, that will just send me into a frenzy. And I know that the devil knows this. You know, he knows my weaknesses. He knows that I struggle with this, you know. And so at the most inopportune time, he'll put me in a position where I have to deal with this. I have to negotiate through this. And so I remember one time I was catching a flight somewhere, and I was sitting towards the front of the plane, and I like to sit towards the window. And somebody, they just came and sat right down next to me, and they were just going to town on this gum. I mean, it sounded like, you know, you ever watch a cow kind of just chew the grass? They were just chewing this gum like they were chewing the grass, and it just sounded like somebody took some bubble wrap just covered in slime and just was just crunching it and smishing. And it was just, I was like, I smiled at them, and I was like, you gotta be out of your mind. And so I got up, I had to get up, and I know common sense will say, well, you just don't ask them to stop. But anybody that deals with this knows that even if you want to say something nice, it's not going to come out that way because you're dealing with this sort of heightened anxiety. So I got up and I walked to the back of the plane to the restroom, and I'm looking to see if there's anyone on the plane doing this. And no one else. This is the only person on the plane that's going to town on this gum like that. And they just had to sit right next to me. And it was as if I could just see Satan sitting there rubbing his hands like, yeah, I got you. This is going to be good. Well, I think I ended up spending the whole flight in the bathroom. But I know that this is my weakness. I know that this is my problem. This is my burden to bear. And so believe me when I say I come prepared for these situations. I do. I'm prepared for the worst of the worst. Anytime I go in any kind of public space when dealing with these kind of issues, I know that this is my struggle, and so I prepare myself for it. I'm always prepared for it. I got noise-canceling earbuds everywhere I go. I got them scattered everywhere. So if I forget, I got them. I got the earbuds. I can just stick them in, the earplugs. I'm prepared. If I don't have that, I got tissue in my pocket. I can ball a spitball and stick it in my ear. But I know this is my weakness. I'm being honest with myself. I know that I have limitations. This is what it means to be humble, is to have an understanding of your weaknesses, to have an understanding of your strengths, to have an understanding of your limitations, and have this sort of this realistic worldview of yourself and being honest with yourself. That's what it means to be humble. And yeah, it does mean being lowly because we are lowly beings. We are from the dust of the earth. We were created. And so to be humble is to have an accurate perception of yourself, to know your weaknesses, to know where you struggle with. And unfortunately for it's their pride that will be their undoing. It's because they have this false sense of superiority that they think that they're going to overcome what's coming against them. And because of their pride, their pride is going to bring them to their demise. So Joshua, he sends about 30,000 troops. He goes and has them go out that night and stations them between Ai and Bethel. They're about 1.5 miles from each other. And you may think it's kind of hard to hide 30,000 troops in a mile and a half span. And he's going to take the rest of the army and he's going to go north. So he sends them around to the southwest and he's going to go north with the remaining army. So in verse 12 it says, Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai to the west of the city. Let me say that again. Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai to the west of the city. It just said 30,000. There seems to be a contradiction here, and a lot of scholars will point that out. A lot of critics will look at this and say this is perhaps a scribal error, or that's mainly how many will try to interpret that. It's a scribal error. Someone messed up something, or it's a later a later compilation, and it was added or synthesized into the text. That's pretty much what they think Deuteronomic history is a compilation of different authors over different times, sort of synthesizing all this together. But there's no contradiction here if you think about this. And this is just me. There are a lot of explanations to this. But I thought about this, and me and Marco, we sat there and we tried to figure this out. He didn't agree with me, but I think I convinced him at the end. But in the beginning of the text, God tells Joshua, he says, take the whole army. Because last time he only took 3,000. And so this time God tells him, take the whole army and go and attack Ai. Now, according to the second census that was taken before they came into Israel, that's over 600,000, about 601,000 fighting men that crossed over into the Jordan. There was over 40,000 just from the 2.5 tribes that crossed the Jordan. So you got 600,000 fighting men, give or take, that he's going to take north. That's the main fighting force. He sends 30,000 in ambush. And this 5,000, it's another entity. It's another group. So he's got 3 different groups. It's hard to hide 30,000 men to go unheard in a 1.5 mile span. So this 5,000, that's the decoy. That they're going to come up. And when Joshua comes down into the valley, they're going to come around the city. So everyone sees them. And they're going to meet him in the valley. And that is the force that Ai is going to see come towards them. It doesn't make any sense at all for a king to say, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to chase off 600,000 soldiers. There's only about 12,000 inhabitants in Ai altogether. That's not going to happen. So he sees this smaller force. Bethel, they see this smaller force coming, and we'll see that they come out and they assist Ai as well, and they're going to attack and give chase to these 5,000 men. That's my reconciliation of that. So in verse 16, it says, all the men of Ai were called to pursue them, and they pursued Joshua and were lured away from the city. Not a man remained in Ai or Bethel who did not go after Israel. Bethel, they come out too with them to give chase to them. They left the city open and went in pursuit of Israel. And so now they've taken the bait. They've fallen for this trap. And God commands Joshua to trigger the ambush. In 18 it says, then the Lord said to Joshua, hold out toward Ai the javelin that is in your hand, for in your hand I will deliver the city. So Joshua held out toward the city the javelin that was in his hand. As soon as he did this, the men in the ambush rose quickly from their position and rushed forward. They entered the city and captured it and quickly set it on fire. And that is this 30,000. That was an ambush. 30,000 that were hiding to take Ai, and they set it ablaze. And they didn't have any way to turn back. The soldiers of Ai and Bethel, it says that they had them cut off. They could not turn back. They were cut off in every direction. They had no chance of escape. In 22, it says, Israel cut them down, leaving them neither survivors nor fugitives. But they took the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all the men of Ai in the fields and in the wilderness where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day, all the people of Ai. Now that's a lot of killing. That's a lot of people being put to the sword. But this time they spared the stray dogs and cats and the donkeys and the sheep and all the other animals. And so again, this is a little different. It's a little different than this battle of Jericho, where it was miraculous. They just did a little marching, blowing their horns, and the city the walls just fell. Here, God he's constructed this plan, this methodical plan, this strategy for them to go in, very hands-on, and really get down in the midst of this. And I think there's a reason for that. Sometimes, we think that, everything's going to be miraculous in our lives, that, I'm going to pray about this and something's just going to happen. God's going to just make something just come out of nowhere. And he does. He does that all the time. But then there's other times where God is calling you to get involved. You're going to be in the midst of this, and you're going to have to be obedient. And in your obedience, step by step, methodically following his lead and discerning his will, you can see that obedience brings about your deliverance. And this is all about being obedient and trusting in the Lord. Everything is not always a wall that's just come tumbling down miraculously. Sometimes you're going to have to be very tedious in following the Lord's commands. And so Joshua, he holds out this javelin and he doesn't draw it back. And this may sound familiar to you as this is what Moses did. Well, he didn't have a javelin, but he stood on this hill, he and Aaron and Hur, as the Israelites were battling the Amalekites. And when Moses, he had his hands stretched up towards the Lord, they prevailed. Israel prevailed. And it was this very same Joshua that was leading his men in battle. When he got tired and dropped his hands, the Amalekites prevailed. And so Hur and Aaron, they put stones up under Aaron, or up under Moses, so he would keep his hands raised up so Israel would prevail. And so it's as if Joshua is remembering that. He's remembering that situation and understanding that, remembering as he was battling, whenever Moses got tired and he feigned that his enemies would prevail. And so he's keeping that, so he keeps that javelin stretched out towards Ai until all was done. You just got to imagine that he's tired. I mean, you try to hold something out, you try to hold a javelin out for let alone a couple of minutes, you're going to be hurting. And so he held that javelin out until the victory was won. And I know he was tired. You got to imagine that he was exhausted. But I believe he's remembering what God told him. I'm with you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. I am with you. I'm with you. And that happens sometimes. God calls us to some difficult things at times. God calls us to endure some fatigue. He calls us to some very scary situations, some uncertain situations. He calls us to do things to where we don't really know what lies in front of us, and we're afraid. We're scared. We're nervous. We don't know which way to go. Well, God, I'm walking, but you're not telling me where my next foot is going to land. And I'm just trusting that, when I take this step, my foot is going to land on solid ground. I'm nervous about it, but, I'm just trusting in you. I'm tired. I'm weary. I'm afraid. It's too hot. It's too cold. Why do I need to be doing this? Why isn't someone else? Where are the others? Where are the others to come and help me? Well, God, why? I need you. I need you. Not now, but right now. I need you to refresh my spirit. We have to remember what God calls. He says, I am with you. God, I need you to refresh my spirit. I need you to strengthen me. I need you to sustain me. I need you to rekindle within me that gift you've placed in me, to set it again on fire, that I can just continue to do what you've called me to do. I'd like to think that Joshua, as he was standing there with that javelin outstretched toward Ai, as his strength waned, as he was fatigued, and as he was nervous perhaps, he said, Lord, I need your strength. I need you to refresh me. You said that you're with me. You said that you would never leave me. I need you to refreshen me. I need you to re-strengthen me. I need to just cast this weight upon you. He says he did not turn it back until all it was done. The whole city was captured. Everything was they were all put to the sword. We need to understand that when we go through difficult times, this is his promise. You can take him at his word and what he says when you're going through difficulties. It's okay to say, God, I'm tired. It's too hot. I'm tired. I'm scared. I'm afraid. I need you to refresh in me. I need you to re-strengthen me. I need you, a fresh outpouring of your Spirit upon me, because I'm at my wit's end. I don't know if I can go another step. I don't know if I can go another day. Lord, I need you to strengthen me in my mess. You promised that you wouldn't leave me, and I'm standing on your promise. I'm standing on that. In the midst of a battle, I'm sure someone may have been coming at Joshua as he had that javelin outstretched. Didn't draw it back to defend himself. He said he kept that javelin outstretched toward the city until the job was done. Lord, I need you to defend me. I need you to be that shield around me when my enemies encircled me. It's okay to cry out to God. He said, I am with you. I'll never leave you. Verse 27, it reads, but Israel did carry off for themselves the livestock and plunder of this city, as the Lord had instructed Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and made it a permanent heap of ruins, a desolate place to this day. And so here they're able to take off the plunder. And if you got to think about poor Achan, if he would have just waited, if he would have just, okay, I'll get the next one. If he'd have just been honest with himself, you know, I know I got sticky fingers. You know, if he would have just been honest with God and with those around him, you know, if I get in there and I see a bunch of riches, I know God said don't take anything, but, you know, I have a problem. I might just be tempted to take something. I'm just being honest with you and with myself. Lord, don't put temptation in front of me. You know me. You know my heart. If I get around something, especially some gold or some silver, something beautiful, I might just swipe that. If he'd only been humble enough to admit, to know his weaknesses, to know his limitations, to know where he's going to fall. And it's the same principle for us today. Same thing. We need to be humble in that, knowing our limitations. We need to understand where we're weak. We need to understand where we are limited. We need to understand where we're going to fall into a ditch. Because the devil knows. He knows how to attack you. And if you're just honest with yourself and you just prepare beforehand, well, I know this is my weakness. I know this is where I am limited. And so I need some brothers to come around me. I need some sisters to come around me that are going to hold me accountable. Look, this is my issue. This is my problem. And this is where we're going. And I might just be tempted. And so I need you to hold me accountable. Lord, you said you're with me. You said you'd never leave me. So Lord, I got some sticky fingers here. I need you to protect me from this, because this is where I'm limited. This is where I struggle. These are my weaknesses. This is what it means to be humble, to have an accurate perspective of yourself, to know yourself. You look at yourself in the mirror and just know, yeah, I know you. I know what you do. You're not fooling anybody. We like to think of ourselves as these, super beings, and everybody, we're on cloud nine and we're all perfect. But no, we need to be honest with ourselves sometime. And that's what it means to be humble. Sometimes you can be humble. You can have false humility where you're trying to be something that you're not. No, God has called you to be who you are, but you're to recognize your weaknesses. You're to recognize where your limitations are. Recognize your strengths as well. God's gifted you with strengths to serve him with them. And so you embrace those as well. But understand your weaknesses and understand when you're weak, his strength is made perfect. Amen? And understand he's with you. He's promised you this. He's promised us this, that he'll never leave us, nor will he ever forsake us. And so in the midst of our mess, we can cry out, I need you right now. Not now, but right now, because I'm about to fall. Amen? Let us pray. Father, I thank you for this word. I thank you for this reminder of what it means to truly be honest with ourselves, to be humble, as you've called us to be humble and meek. And so, Lord, I pray that, as we just go through the week, we can take a good look at ourselves and just re-examine ourselves afresh to understand where we're limited at and to be honest and not try to do it on our own, When we're in situations where we know that we're vulnerable, to be honest with those around us, to be honest with you. You already know. And so, Lord, I just pray that this word, it seep into our hearts and we just learn this lesson that Achan learned the hard way. So, Lord, we just thank you for your word. Thank you for the opportunity to come here together today to fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen.